All right, I'm here with rapper, author, broadcaster, MOBO Award winner, Guvna B. Mate, thank you so much for coming on the show. How you feeling today?
Feeling good, man. Thanks for having me, man. It's
No,
good to be here.
yeah, no worries at all, man. So first off, I'm gonna take it back a little bit for the first few questions. You go on tour with Tiny Temper when you're around like 18 years old. Is
Yeah.
there anything you learned or anything that he showed you from touring with him that maybe you can pass on to younger artists today?
Yeah, man, for sure. I think where me and Tiny had a similar upbringing, first generation, raised on a council estate in a city culture. So just like rapping in the ends, rapping on the estate. When I went on that tour, it was the first time I thought, this thing that we enjoy doing could actually turn into a proper career, earn us some good money. You can approach it with a strong element of professionalism, and it's effectively a business. So I think that tour taught me that it's not just a hobby, but if you play your cards right and you take it seriously, then you could set your family up for life, man. So definitely learn that from Tiny.
Do you think this is something that a lot of young people can do with it? Is it something that you just put your mind to and do it, or is there more to it than that?
You know, I think what people don't talk about a lot is some people might call it favor, some people might call it luck, but the way basic economics work is that if all of us worked hard, really, really hard, and we were all really good, there's only so many people that can be at that top level. But I like to say that all we can do is put ourselves in the best position to do that. So work as hard as you can, put in your 10,000 hours, and try and make the most of every opportunity. And you almost got to redefine success. So success isn't, I can set my family up for life, or I'm going to headline Glastonbury, but I think success is just doing the best you can with the ability you've got and seeing what happens, man, and hopefully it works out.
For sure, for sure. Speaking of which, you go to uni to study business and journalism.
Mm.
Looking back now, do you think this was a necessary part in your life, or do you look back and think, well, maybe I should have just focused on the music?
Bit of both, really. I guess if I didn't go to the uni, I could have accelerated my music career, um, and just got opportunities earlier, put in more work, and be a bit further ahead. But the knowledge from my business degree, but to be fair, my journalism degree particularly, because you learn how to write for different audiences, and that kind of holds weight when it comes to lyric writing as well. That definitely comes in handy. So I'd say a bit of both. But I'd say there's no like linear path to wherever you're meant to be in life, man. I like to think that nothing is wasted, and every experience contributes to where you end up. Even if it's not the right thing, it's going to be the thing that eventually leads you to the right thing. So yeah, that's the way I look at it.
For sure, that's a good way of doing it because you obviously, whatever, even if you didn't do a degree that you liked or if you didn't take that step, there's a lot of skills that you gain from that. That let's say you hadn't done it, you talk about the journalism would have been really important, even for just writing now. It's
No,
definitely a huge
for sure,
skill.
man. That's
Um,
a big point.
yeah,
University was the first place I found myself in consistently that had a breadth of different people from different backgrounds,
yeah.
economical status, class, all of that kind of stuff. And I didn't really have that in the ends that I grew up in. So yeah, you're right, man. It's so much more than just a degree.
Yeah, that's good to hear. You obviously start out your rap career, especially in your early days, but even still now, you come out with this kind of gospel rap kind of genre that you're coming out with, which I think is safe to say is quite a niche genre.
Hmm.
What are some key points in making an impactful yet relatable gospel rap song?
Yeah, it's strange, man. I think I definitely got put in that box, but I didn't really set out to be that. I have a faith as a Christian, and I think that because some of my faith came out in my lyrics, people just slap me in that box. But I think gospel music is the only genre that's defined by its content
Yeah,
rather than its sound. And so if you would ask me, I'd probably say I'm more of a rapper, hip hop artist, grime artist. But it's where I found my feet and where a lot of my fan base came from in the early days. And I think it just comes from my authenticity. When I was 15, one of my close friends got stabbed to death on my estate, and before that, I was rapping about like the knives, the guns, the girls. even though I didn't carry a knife, didn't have a gun, didn't get any girls, and I, when he passed, I was just like, it feels weird glamorizing this stuff, so I'm just gonna be me. And so I started rapping about more positive stuff, and I guess what I would call myself as maybe a conscious rapper,
Yeah,
like similar to how you'd look at a Little Sims or a Koji Radical or a Wretch 32, just people that want to make a difference through the music, man.
I really respect that. I really do. It's got to take a lot of introspection, a lot of courage, especially to be able to execute it. Well, there's one thing wanting to do it, but then being able to execute it is probably something very different. Oh shit. Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
100%, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you back, I think. Yeah, there we go. Got you.
Yeah, great, man.
Nice.
Sorry, repeat that. I think it just cut out for a sec.
Yeah, for a second, did you? Oh, let me ask you then. Um, Next question I want to ask you. So, one things that I've done your rapping. Are there any, as I will call it, Bible bars that stand out to you as some of your favorites that you've spit? For any inspiration, one of my favorites of yours is compared to a better connection, you've got free credit on Jesus's network from Praise You Go. Is one of my personal favorites.
Mate, what was that? That must have been the first album.
Yeah,
Them lyrics.
2008, I think.
Yeah, man. What's my favorite in terms of uplifting? Probably say like every test is a lesson, every lesson is a blessing if you choose to see the message. And I don't know, the way I look at things is when we go through difficult situations in life, um, there's always an opportunity to learn something from them and you build the resilience that makes you stronger. So having faith and seeing that there's light at the end of the tunnel is always like a good perspective to have. So I like that one, man.
Yeah, for sure. You've dabbled in a lot of different genres in your career, from like you said, from gospel to also Afro beats to grime as well, which definitely means you have to appeal to a lot of different audiences. Is this a challenge that you look forward to, or is it one you find difficult to manage?
Um, I think I look forward to it, man. I like people hearing the music and thinking, oh, this sounds different. I want to listen a bit more. In terms of who I appeal to, I don't think so much on that side of things. I just try and go in the studio and make something that's real for me, something that helps people. And the way I look at it is whoever interacts with it, then that's great. But in terms of compartmentalizing, thinking, all right, Brown one over here. Don't really think like that, man. It's almost like no agenda when you go into the studio from like a soundscape perspective. Um, so yeah, I don't really feel any pressure at all, but I really relish the challenge anyway.
That's good. That's good. After winning a high profile award like a MOBO, for example, similarly to what you just said, do you feel any change in pressure or expectation, or is it just all love and positivity in that moment?
With that, you get addicted to the thrill of it. So I think my first MOBO was 2018. And then all of a sudden you're in a room with whoever it was at the time, the Adele's or um it would have been Dizzy Rascals, Reggie Yates, like whoever the big artist was at the time. I've got a horrendous memory. And then you're like, oh, this actually feels amazing. I've got to do it again. And it's never enough. And so when you taste it, it becomes quite addictive. And you've got to kind of remind yourself, actually, the primary reason I do what I do is because I love making music. And the secondary stuff that comes off the back of being successful, like MOBAs and stuff, are cool, but they can't define me. But it does feel good every single time. Like I've got 3 MOBAs now and I still want to go for a fourth. Do you know what I mean? So you get addicted.
Definitely get addicted to it. Is it something that you think, well, when you're looking back, let's say when you eventually when you've retired, when you're looking back on your career, is that going to be something that stands out, or is it going to be kind of like more like a side thing?
No, I think it's nice because I've got a couple of kids now, and they can see my awards on a mantelpiece, and they signify, "Oh, Dad like worked really hard at something, and he was really passionate about something, and he got a reward for it." So I think that's pretty important. But in terms of the overarching feeling I'll get at the end of my career, I think messages from people that are like, "Yo, I listened to your music and I stopped. self-harming, or I was feeling really anxious and this song helped me in this time, that will probably be like the biggest, achievements that I look back at.
For sure. You released your new song Traffic recently, talking about experiences with education when you were a kid and how to approach it for your son. So what I'm going to do is kind of get a gauge about where you're at with this song. I'm going to read you a few of your bars that you spit on that song and ask you to break it down if that's all right.
Yeah, sick.
All right, cool. First one I got for you is what matters most is community for the lack of hope and redefining that success is more than stacking dough.
Yeah, man. I think I mentioned a bit of that earlier about kind of the redefinition of success. I think, when I was growing up on my estate, success was Air Max 95s and a tracksuit. But the
Yeah.
brother that was in a suit and loafers going to work at JP Morgan, I just thought, you're not successful. But he was more successful than all of us. So the way we look at things and what we hold close to our hearts and deem as important, it's different for everyone. But we've got to redefine it and make sure that we're not holding ourselves to standards that won't benefit us. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna try and instill in my son, that if you have fruitful relationships with the people around you, a good community, and you just work hard, then you've got the success before anything else even happens. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. How long did it take you to kind of realize that? Because that's definitely something that comes with experience. How much experience did you need for that to become like a light bulb moment?
I think a lot of experience. When I speak to friends in varying industries, I think we all know it, but it's just hard. Like, even though I'm saying this to you, I'm about to put out an album and I'm like, oh, I need to hit my 5,000 sales in my first week or whatever, even though I know that that doesn't necessarily define me. So there's the reality of life, um, that's hard to deal with, and you got to constantly remind yourself that's not what's important, that's not what's important to a certain extent. And there's the knowledge of like truth and just really believing it and knowing it, and that's what I try and focus on.
For sure, for sure. Next one I've got for you is I don't know if we should pander to elitism.
Yeah. So that came off the back of a conversation with my missus about whether we would send our kids to private school or
Yeah.
not. And I think on the one hand, it's a good idea because you supposedly get an elite level of um, education. So I say supposedly.
Yeah.
Um, there's less kids in a class, so they get more attention. You have access to potentially a network that can change your life for the better. But then the negatives are, it's for elite individuals, and because of their eliteness and because they share the majority of wealth and power between just a few people, it means that the majority of society lose out and it's not balanced very well. And I don't know if I want to contribute to that. And I guess some people might say, oh, that's why more people from my background should be in private education so that you can collect the knowledge, the resource, and then feed it back into communities. But I don't know, man. Sometimes when you play the game to change the game, you get lost in the sauce. So
Yeah.
got careful.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, last one I've got for you now is save the stressing, put those efforts in investments.
Yeah, man. I think there's a verse I like. It says, "There's no need to worry about tomorrow because tomorrow has worries of its own."
Mm.
And that's what the lyrics are about, man. I think me as a person, speaking for myself, I can waste so much time and energy just stressing about stuff that I don't really need to stress about in this moment. Instead of doing that, I'd rather invest the energy into things that will give me life, man. Like going out with my mates or going out for a drink, having a good time, watching a Netflix series, whatever it
Simple
is.
things, in it? Yeah.
Yeah, simple things, bro. Because I think if you invest your energy in that, you just feel a bit better, and you just trust that tomorrow will look after itself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So like what's that instead of? You want to put energy in that kind of stuff. Let's say someone who isn't quite there yet, what do you reckon they're putting it in instead? Is it the success thing or something else?
Well, yeah, you could take it really simple. I was having this conversation with my mum, who my
Mm.
dad passed in 2017. She's on her own, so she stresses out quite a bit. I'm like, all right, mum, instead of stressing today, why don't you go for a walk? If you go for a walk for an hour, come back and feel better. So it can be as simple as that, or it can be on a bigger scale of, you just graduated university, you're in your last year, and you really need to make a grade to get the job that you want to get. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That can become like so overwhelming. But then you just strip it right back to, you know what, I'm just gonna try my best today. And then tomorrow I wake up and try my best then, rather than going all the way there straight away. You know what I'm saying?
You know what you were saying before about how when you look back on your career, you want to focus on things that like inspire people and the words that
Yeah.
you said right there. That right there has really just struck me right then.
Yeah,
Saying
spit
now,
man.
that's definitely important for me right now. I'm sure important
Mm,
for a lot of people listening right now. So I respect that from you a lot.
yeah.
The last question I've got for you is just your new album, The Village is on Fire, coming on the 26th of May, not long now. What kind of soundscapes and content can we expect to hear from you?
It's a breadth, man. I grew up in a lot of different styles of music. I'm saying, from like your Motown to gospel to grime, garage, bit of guilty pleasures in there, Spice Girls and that. Um, but on this album, obviously stay true to my rap background. So there's a lot of rap, hip hop. It's all pretty uplifting, but it's about a racist attack, racially motivated attack that I faced about 18 months ago. And I guess the album is just me unpacking the attack and asking broader questions away from me of what does it mean in society? How we can we change the way we view each other? How can we create a safe environment, a safe village for young people to grow up in? So I've got Michaela on a Cole on a track that's a bit more of a chilled hip hop one.
Mm,
I've got Gets on a track that's like really high energy grime. There's like a dance record on there called Everyone's a Hypocrite, but there's yeah, man. I know everyone says it. There's something for everyone, but it feels like there's a lot of stuff for a lot of people, man.
that's definitely important, especially when you're touching on content that you want to be writing about as well. Having the skill to make it accessible to a lot of different people is definitely something that's important this far into your career as well.
Yeah, man. That's it. Exactly.
100%.
Exactly right.
All right, well, that's everything I've got to ask you. I really appreciate you talking to me today, man. You've given me some really good insight, and we're really looking forward to your next album, man.